Like, we're not going to suddenly turn into like different people because we have a podcast.
Yeah, like if anyone really knew how many times a day we actually cry.
Who's the Andrew Ridgely of the Untitled GenX podcast? Hello and welcome to the Untitled GenX podcast.
Podcast hosted by two childhood best friends dedicated to the pop culture that raised us.
I'm Cate, a writer, a midwife, a current day pop culture know-nothing, but nobody puts baby in a corner when it comes to the pop culture of my youth.
And I'm Lori, a writer and pop culture lover who's still not over how my so-called life left us hanging.
Well, friends, we've reached the end of season 1 of the Untitled GenX podcast. We couldn't quite figure out how to wrap up our inaugural season in a nice big bow, so we decided to get kind of meta with an episode all about season 1 itself.
And while we fully realize this is about as obnoxious as an 18-year-old writing their memoir, we're doing it anyway.
But before we get completely self-indulgent, we'd like to remind you to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It totally matters.
In fact, we've made it easier than ever for you to do just that. Visit us on the web at theuntitledgenxpodcast.com and click the handy link at the top titled Rate and Review. So get on it. Cate, we've reached the end of season 1.
We have.
Woo! What a ride.
Yes.
And I mean, really, it's kind of obnoxious to do an episode like that's all like super self-congratulatory, but yet here we are.
We have no shame, and we are unashamed to admit it. Also, I would like to alert the viewers to our very special guest today, my new puppy, Nova, who just, despite being 5 months old today, is just unable to control herself, shockingly. So you may hear her in the background from time to time. We'll post a picture so you know what cuteness is making all that noise.
Yeah. And it's not that you might hear her, you 100% will hear her.
Yeah, you'll definitely hear her. You might also hear the cat like scratching at the door to get in because I must keep them separated right now.
So what kind of dog is Nova?
She is a German Shepherd mix. She's already 34 pounds.
Wow.
She's going to be big.
She might be our official Untitled GenX mascot.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I thought that we should start off by talking about our favorite episodes.
Okay.
So what's your favorite and why?
I mean, my favorite is the best Christmas pageant ever.
You know, that's interesting because it was one of the least downloaded, Cate. I'm sorry to tell you that.
It's okay. It's because not everyone understands the magic of the best Christmas pageant ever. But if you are listening to this, if perhaps you missed the best Christmas pageant ever and you're like, wow, she really liked that one, you should go back and check it out.
Yeah, that's episode 7. And you can actually watch the best Christmas pageant ever. I know that we're not in Christmas season, but some people like their holiday entertainment all year long, and you can view it for free on YouTube. So why not?
Right. And I mean, people watch Die Hard at other times besides Christmas, but that's totally a Christmas movie. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So do you have another favorite?
Oh, I just can't choose. I'm like a mom. I love them all. Hold on. I'm looking at our whole list. So good. So many of them are so good. Like Cabbage Patch.
That was a good one.
Cyndi Lauper. U2. Groundhog Day. Was not expecting that one to be so enjoyable, and yet it was.
All right.
Also a little existential, if I recall correctly. Yeah. Wham. I mean, the Electric Grandmother.
The Electric Grandmother was on my list, episode 17. I just loved it so much. It's kind of obscure and super weird. And it just brought back so many memories. So that was definitely on my list. And my other favorite, which kind of surprised me, Reality Bites.
Oh, I forgot my baby.
That's your like favorite movie. I was kind of surprised you didn't choose it.
But yeah, Reality Bites. I mean, Troy Dyer.
What was so fun about it was that it really turned into a very lively debate.
Right.
Between you and I about sort of like the passions and pitfalls of choosing bad boys.
I mean, I don't know anything about choosing bad boys.
And not only that, but like the struggle to adult without completely sacrificing your principles.
Right. Yes. Don't we all feel that struggle some days?
I mean, I think that we really do. I mean, certainly we feel it in the beginning of adulthood. But I mean, I feel like I still feel that now sometimes. Do you?
Oh, like many times a day.
It's not a passing feeling.
No, I feel like this is the truth about adulthood that no one tells you, that like, I've realized, like, I don't think that there's a point where you like get it all together. Like, I think everyone just pretends like there is, and there really isn't.
I think that's really true. I think some people are just better at seeming like they have their shit together.
Right. And actually, to be fair, I have this theory that like I probably look fairly well put together to the outside world, but some days not so much.
Yeah, like if anyone really knew how many times a day we actually cry.
I have cried like I have cried more moments of today than I have not.
Oh,
I
no.
literally was out walking Nova and I'm just like, I can't even stop crying right now. And when you have a puppy, everyone wants to stop and talk to your puppy. And I'm like wiping tears from my face, trying to look all nonchalant. And you know what people really like during a pandemic? They really like seeing you have a runny nose.
And now my dog is barking.
Welcome to the dog episode of the Untitled GenX podcast.
So that was my dog, Vito. He's about 8 years old. He's a Maltese and he has a lot of anxiety.
Vito and Nova are like polar opposites of each other. Like Nova is probably about 7 Vitos rolled into.
Well, Vito's 8 pounds. So
yeah, almost.
There you go.
6 of them.
We'll post Vito and Nova on the IG for you guys to take a peek.
Yeah.
And you can always send us pictures of your dogs. We love
Please
dogs.
do. Cats too. We're happy for cats or dogs or guinea pigs or rabbits. We welcome all creatures, great and small.
Okay, so we talked about favorite episodes, but let's talk about least favorite episodes.
Oh.
We're self-aware. We can be honest.
I'm just going to say Cocktail.
Cocktail, episode 10. It was on my list too.
Yeah.
For no other reason than the fact that it was just not a good movie.
It was so bad.
It was so bad. Now, if you want to hear us talk a bunch of shit about Cocktail, I highly recommend the episode because there was a lot of shit.
True. If you want to hear us talk about how bad it is, go back and listen.
And how Jordan was a smart girl and why was she going after Brian Flanagan? He was not the hero of the story that they tried to make him out to be. And yeah. My other least favorite episode was episode 5, Heathers.
So Heathers, also because the movie was a hard watch.
The hardest.
Yeah. And unexpectedly so. Like Cocktail was kind of like, oh, this isn't good. But like Heathers, I loved Heathers when I was younger.
You and me both, sister.
It was painful to be like, what happened?
Because it's a cult favorite. And like in my memory and when I see pictures of it today, I've made a bunch of Heather's memes for the pod and they always do really well. People like them a lot. I want to still love that movie as much as I ever did, but in light of everything that's happened in terms of school violence since, very difficult rewatch. And there's homophobia, there's fat shaming.
And there's a lot of sexual assault
yes.
that is, I didn't recall it being like that. And I had people, when I would talk about that we were doing that podcast, they'd be like, ooh, did it hold up? And I was like, no, it really did not. No. And they were like, really?
We were really disappointed to learn that.
Yeah.
And aside from that, we recorded that on a Sunday night, like really late. And the audio is trash because that was back before I figured out how to turn around my microphone.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I had the microphone turned around backwards for like 5 episodes or something.
And to be clear, it's not like this is the front, turn it this way.
Right. It's actually a mistake that fellow podcasters have admitted to me that they have also made. So it's made me feel better. I mean, is that true? I don't know. Are they saying it to make me feel better? I don't care. I just want to feel like I was not alone in that. So,
right. Isn't it helpful when other people are like, that thing that you did, I did it too.
Right. So you're like, so it wasn't just me.
Right.
This leads me to best episode you guys, the listener, have not heard yet. I looked at the stats, you guys, and, I have to tell you, the best out of the 3 least listened to was most definitely episode 15, Sleepless in Seattle.
What?
It's a rock star episode, you guys. Why didn't you listen to it? What is happening here? Do you not love Tom Hanks? Do you not
And
love Meg Ryan?
Together? It's like peanut butter and jelly, peas and carrots.
Nora Ephron, you guys.
Also, I think, is that the one where I get a little serious about like what it's like to be a single woman?
Yeah. And, in fact, Sleepless in Seattle made it on my list of most surprising episodes.
Yeah.
It kind of shocked me how deep that episode got.
It did.
You had a lot to say about what it means to not compromise in love as a woman reaching middle age. And it was really powerful. Worth a listen, you guys.
We got to the deep nougaty center of it. You should go back and listen. What's interesting is since doing that episode, I came across, I think it was an article or maybe it was like a BuzzFeed thing. I don't know, but it was basically like, it asked people like, did you settle for the person that you spent your life with?
That's loaded.
I might have actually like chosen that word poorly. It might not have been settled, but it was like, did you pick a person that you knew wasn't the one?
Okay.
Kind of thing. And like, how has it turned out? I think it comes down to like what your values are, right? Because a lot of people were like, nope, but like we love each other and we're dedicated to our family and like we have a good life and we have good communication and, and there's not that like amazing romance part of it. So there were a lot of answers like that. And then there were some answers that were like, yeah, and I really regret it. And, but it was an interesting perspective because some people felt like I wanted these certain things out of life.
Right.
And I didn't want to compromise on those things. So I compromised on quote unquote, the one. And I don't know, it's an interesting, like, that's not my value personally, but it's a totally valid perspective. So interesting. See, yet again, Sleepless in Seattle, bringing up the deep nougaty center of love.
I felt like you admitted some really powerful personal truths in that I feel like are really beneficial to women, particularly about saying, you know what, I have a Walter in my life. He's a really nice guy. He loves me. I love him. And, it's just not right. I'm going to find a way to be okay on my own until I can find that person. And if I don't find that person, I'm going to love myself enough to choose me.
Right.
To choose what I value.
And to be fair, there have been some really dark moments in that where it felt there was a lot of despair. And I can remember looking for articles that like mirrored kind of the experience I was going through. And all I could find were like these articles about people who like never partnered, but like their life was great and wonderful and fulfilling anyway. And I was like, screw that. That is not the article that I want to read. That is not where I am. But now a few years later, I'm like, oh, I do see what they're talking about. And I do see that like that place exists. I was just in such a like despondent place because I thought I had found like my like Tom Hanks after my Walter.
Your Sam.
Right. My Sam. And it didn't work out. And that was rough.
That's tough.
But now quite a few years later, like I'm okay. I'm all good. And I do see the value.
You said that you were pretty enamored with your life and the direction that it's going. And I thought that was amazing to hear because I know it hasn't been an easy road.
And a big part of getting to that place is like being open to an alternative, right? Because I think part of the reason I was so upset is I was like, I want this life that I was told since I was a little girl was the life that I was supposed to have. And that if I did all the right things would come to me. And let's be fair, I probably didn't do all the right things, but it didn't come and I tried really hard. And once I sort of let that go, then I was able to sort of see the good things that were in the life that I had built for myself. And I had amazing experiences. I've had an amazing life. I can't complain.
That's awesome. Okay. Did you have a different pick for the best episode?
That people haven't heard? No. Well, I mean, the best Christmas pageant.
I knew you were going to go back to that.
I mean, come on.
Episode 7, guys, the best Christmas pageant ever.
I do have to say it's sort of a niche experience. But Sleepless in Seattle, I think is a little more universal. It is. If you can only pick one I would say pick Sleepless in Seattle. I also see that our Cosby Show, Who's the Boss, was not super well listened to. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Not that our feelings about Bill Cosby have anything to do with it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I had higher hopes for that episode and it just didn't.
Yeah. It doesn't always work out.
Yeah.
Let's get a little negative again here.
Oh,
after the day we both had.
Right. If you don't have anything nice to say, come over here and sit next to me.
Come talk to me. Okay. Was there an episode that you just really weren't excited for? Now, I asked this question. I'm going to kind of say it this way. When there's a podcast between two people, as much
right.
as Cate and I have shared a joint childhood, essentially, we're both very different people. Cate was into some things that I wasn't into. I was into some things she wasn't into. I have a lot of bright ideas. She has a lot of bright ideas. And we don't always love each other's ideas.
And we're always sure that our bright idea is the best.
Right. Like our bright idea is the one that you guys are going to latch onto the most and love. But was there an episode that we had decided for whatever reason to do that you were just like, okay, fine?
I think that I wasn't super excited about the Eurythmics. But then when I actually went back and watched it, I was like, oh, actually, I feel like I have a lot to say about this. It was a good experience because I sort of had in my mind what here's an important life lesson, friends. I had in my mind what the experience of going to do this was going to be like.
Right.
And then when I actually went to do it, it was much more pleasant than what I had imagined it would have been. So see, sometimes we need our friends to expose us to things we wouldn't do ourselves.
Well, the Arrhythmics is episode 21. And I'll tell you, Cate, that is the sleeper hit out of all the episodes we've done. People liked it.
Yeah, it was fun to revisit and to see it through my adult eyes now and see things that I didn't see.
You said, because we were both we tell the story of being very traumatized by that video as children. And you said in that episode that ever since that happened when you were a kid, this video would come on and you would turn it off.
I would.
You would not watch it all the way through.
Like I just had to hear like the few beats in the beginning and I was like, no.
I can't do it.
Yeah. But then when I actually did watch it, I was like, this is great. And there's a cow in a boardroom. What's not to like?
Okay, let's just give a little more life to the name Dave Stewart. He is the other member of the Arrhythmics with Annie Lennox.
And friends, who is Andrew Ridgely?
He is the other guy from Wham.
I hope these other guys appreciate us raising their names up.
Maybe season 2, we should focus on the other guy, the other
guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because there's got to be lots of other guys out there.
There's lots of great other people out there that just don't have the notoriety.
Oh, wait. Which one of us is the other guy?
Oh. Okay. You know what? I'll make that into a poll on Instagram.
Yeah. Who's the Andrew Ridgely of the Untitled GenX podcast?
Oh, Lord. Okay. I'll be honest with you. The episode I was least excited for, no offense, Star Wars. Just last week.
It's true. She was not excited about it.
Okay. I have to put a caveat on this. I was really excited to welcome Pat, your brother.
She was. It's true.
He was our first guest. He knocked it out of the park. He was so fantastic.
Yeah. It's my big brother.
You all had mad love for Pat. I've gotten so many messages saying he was such a source of information. He was so entertaining. Damn, he's good at this job.
He has that nice, like, radio quality voice.
He really does. I actually think Pat might be the Annie Lennox, George Michael of this podcast, and we are the other guy.
And we jointly are Andrew Ridgely and what's the other guy's name?
Dave Stewart.
Oh, Dave Stewart. Sorry. We didn't say your name.
You already forgot his name, Cate. What's wrong with you?
We didn't say your name as much as we said Andrew Ridgely.
But I'll tell you guys, I'm really meh about Star Wars, right? And I enjoyed it. It was a great episode and conversation to have. It was just so big and I didn't want to get it wrong.
Lori feels a lot of pressure about these things.
Okay, I felt pressure on 3 episodes, like big time pressure.
Joshua Tree.
Oh my God, you two, Joshua Tree almost broke me. Tori Amos.
Oh, yeah.
I felt a lot of pressure on that one. And Star Wars, because these are 3 things that
iconic.
They're iconic and the world really loves and respects. So I felt it, you guys. I felt the pressure. I'm only human.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why like we were like, we can't do a Star Wars episode by ourselves
Oh, hell
because
no.
it will be sad and pathetic. But my brother was like the perfect person. And I will have you know that it makes me feel like it was worth it to sit through The Empire Strikes Back as many times as I did as a child. It's all worth it now.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a redundant question because we talked about what our favorite episodes were. So this might be the same for you. But like, what episode were you the most excited to record?
I was probably the most excited to record The Electric Grandmother.
Me too. I'm so glad you chose it. Episode 17.
I feel like we already had plans to do something else.
We did. Katie, I think it was going to be Debbie Gibson Out of the Blue.
Oh, sorry. If you're
a mad Debbie Gibson fan.
And we replaced it with the freakishly weird, The Electric Grandmother.
And obscure.
Be thankful because we have broadened your horizons.
Not that I don't love Debbie Gibson. I mean, that's why we chose it. So
I mean, was she? No, she wasn't Eponine. Who was she?
I thought that she was Eponine.
Yeah, because Eponine has the poppy voice. Yeah.
When I texted you The Electric Grandmother, we were both so freakishly excited.
Yeah, we had to wait a long time to get to that one. And so we were so excited. And it was so weird. It was so weird.
It was so great. It goes down as one of my all-time faves.
And it has the dad from the Gilmore Girls, which is my comfort show. So
may he rest in peace. This leads me to, what was your most surprising episode? I mean, we both said Sleepless in Seattle got pretty surprising. And you touched on the fact that Groundhog Day, episode 14, got deep.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Groundhog Day because I had never seen it before. I thought that I knew what it was about, because it's sort of like culturally like ingrained in everyone. And I was just like, how good could this movie possibly be? It's about the same day over and over and over. And so I was surprised by how much I liked the movie and then also by the discussions we had about it.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about how Groundhog Day, Bill Murray's character, Phil, his experience living the same day over and over again really mirrored pandemic life for a lot of us. And we also talked about his evolution of character and moving in and out of the stages of grief in that episode. And we also talked about our favorite days. And there were some really beautiful moments.
Aww.
Days we wouldn't mind living over and over again.
Yeah.
My other most surprising episode, okay, I cheated. I chose 2.
I was not told that was an option.
Sorry. I went rogue. I broke the rules. Episode 24, Guns N' Roses, November Rain. I will tell you why it was the most surprising, that there was no cyborg bride. And further, what was the most surprising was that not one person reached out to us telling us, yep, she was a cyborg.
Yeah. I'm so puzzled.
It was a shock to both of us and probably a shock to no one because when I asked the question, I'm like, somebody out there has this memory, and nobody. It's just us and our shared memory. So there you go.
But it's so weird that we both have it because I literally was like, oh, right. And she's a robot.
100%. Like I would have given a sworn testimony to that.
Oh,
I would have sworn on a Bible.
For sure.
Yeah. So, okay. Most fun episode to record.
Oh, that is a hard one.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you mine while you think about yours?
You go first. Yeah. Why do I always have to go?
Yeah. It's not like you're the George Michael of the podcast. Come on now.
Oh, wait.
It's a tie for me again. The first one was episode 3, Skid Row. Okay, we talked about their self-titled debut album. Again, my audio is a little bit trash on that episode, so my apologies. But it was so fun to revisit Youth Gone Wild, I Remember You, and 18 in Life. I had such a good time. And my other favorite was episode 9, Friends, the one with all the resolutions, when we talked about Ross and his leather pants.
Every time I see someone with leather pants, I'm like, Ross.
I'll tell you what, Katie, the keywords that drive the most traffic to our website, the UntitledGenXpodcast.com, it's not the Untitled Gen X podcast.
It's not Gen X.
It's not Cate and Lori. It's Ross Leather Pants. Brings the most traffic to our website.
That's great.
We've got a meme or two of Ross in his leather pants that are worth checking out. And remember how I told a story about ringing in the new year by having sex at midnight?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And how we were going to be very careful to usher in the new year. It was a good episode.
Right. Oh, that's right. Like, don't scare away 2021. And here we are.
We made it, you guys. If you love Friends, check out that episode because I watch Friends year round. I watch it all the damn time. The episode was a fun revisit.
Yeah, that was a good one. I really enjoyed Punky Brewster.
It was fun.
Just for like the trip down memory lane that was. And then, I mean, again, I love them all except Cocktail and The Cosby Show.
I have to say, like Beverly Hills 90210, the episode where Brenda and Dylan do it, that was pretty fun.
It was fun to record. I actually like walked away from the episode. Like sometimes actually bad things made for really good recordings.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes just the energy is super on and sometimes the energy is just not.
Right. I mean, life happens in between podcast episodes.
We hate to break it to you guys.
Right. We hate to shatter the illusion.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there anything that you shared on the podcast that you actually regret sharing? Anything that you're like, oh, I said it and Lori didn't edit it out and damn, how could she?
I think mostly anything that I was like, sometimes I say things and I'm like, you have to edit that.
Yeah, you do. You do that to me a lot, actually. I have like blackmail material on you. All the things that you wanted me to edit out. I have like a big giant secret file.
Uh-oh, good thing she's my best friend. Yeah. Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
The thing that I regret sharing the most was that we promised Can't Buy Me Love and we didn't deliver on it.
Friends, that was my fault.
It's a shame that keeps me up at night. You guys, I'm going to promise it again. We will do it for season 2. We will absolutely do it. I'm sorry I didn't make it in this season. But we haven't forgotten about Ronald Miller and his glow up. He's still at the forefront of my mind.
We will do it.
Let me ask you this. Was there anything you learned about yourself? You know, because listening to yourself on a podcast for this is going to be our 28th episode. You learn some shit and it's not always great shit. And sometimes it is. You surprise yourself.
I learned that I say like a lot.
We both do.
We're from Southern California.
Yeah,
it's kind of
it's
not
a valley
our fault.
thing, I think.
I know. Yeah. And so I definitely learned that. And I guess I learned that so here's the thing. I'm an introvert and I'm kind of private, except when I'm sharing really personal details about my life.
It's true. It's funny to hear you say like, I'm an introvert. And then you're like, I don't know, like some really intimate detail that some people are friends for like a decade and don't know as much about each other. And you're just telling strangers.
And I'm like, your world know about this really personal detail about me.
Right.
And yeah, so it's an interesting paradox. But so I guess that I was maybe surprised that I was comfortable sharing as much as I do with all of you.
That's a good answer. Damn it. Our listeners deserve it.
They do. Full transparency, except for about Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah, seriously. So I learned that I'm a terrible cold reader. Like, you know, I pull quotes and stuff and I put them in the show notes and then I'll deliver them. And the delivery is just god awful. I'm so sorry. I never liked reading out loud in class. It was always a source of major anxiety for me.
Did you not feel bad for those kids who would they just had a hard time reading and they would stumble? Were you one of those kids?
I was one of those kids. And so even now when I'm, reading a quote, it's delivered terribly and clunky. And I go back and I listen to these episodes where I'm reading a quote and I'm like, oh, poor audience. So I'm sorry, you guys. It is who I am. I stand in my truth. I'm sorry.
I was that obnoxious kid in class when the teacher was like, who would like to read this? And I'd be like, I will.
You were that kid. I was always grateful for that kid, actually. Like,
oh, good. Oh,
better her than me.
Good.
Yeah. And then I also learned about what a terrible memory I have because you remember pieces of our childhood and thank God that I had completely forgotten about.
Like what?
So many things. Or when my mom gave me the box of bras at Christmas, training bras at Christmas, you guys, I talk about that in the Margaret episode 12. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. That happened on Christmas. I didn't even remember that you were there.
So she forgot me.
I forgot you, but like you're always telling little stories and I'm like, "Oh my God, I forgot." Okay, so this is a super loaded question. Please be kind, Kate.
Oh.
What are some things that we learned about each other?
Well, if you would like to hear all the lovely, beautiful things we have to say about each other, you should listen to our episode of the GenX Voice that we were guests on. Because I remember she was like, there's so much love right now. I learned lots of good things that like working with friends is good, right? Because I think early on we kind of had discussions about like the businessy side of things.
Right.
And that it was really lovely that because I was like, should we sign something? Like
I was like, that's a lot of work.
Right. And we were like, no, like we're not going to suddenly turn into like different people because we have a podcast. So like that's super awesome. I think I learned that you're like a lot more type A than I realized, which is saying something.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
I knew you were type A. She's a Virgo, so this is not
For
a surprise.
sure.
But I guess maybe what I didn't realize is that like that type A-ness.
Type A-ness.
Sorry.
A-ness.
But yeah, so I think I just didn't realize that like the kind of the driver behind a lot of it is just this really intense desire to do really quality work, right? It's not like you're just like type A for the sake of being type A, and really quality work is really important to you.
You know, so. I wrote down that you and I work so differently, and that is a testament sort of to your type B-ness. Yeah, because it's like I watched the thing way ahead of time. I got the meticulous notes, and you're like the day before, you're like, oh yeah, I probably ought to watch that thing. And then you're just kind of like loose with it, but you always have very intelligent things to say, real quality contribution without a lot of, I don't want to say without a lot of effort, because you do put a lot of effort into it, but a lot of like mental energy, a lot of it just comes so naturally to you. And that doesn't come naturally to me. So we're just like very different in that way. But I learned a lot about you in talking about, like, grief comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It has come up a lot on this podcast in terms of like, we talked about it in Groundhog Day and Sleepless in Seattle, The Electric Grandmother, and Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And, I was there when your mom got sick, and I was there when your mom passed away, and I was your friend through all of that, but I never really understood the grief end of it. Obviously, unless you walk through grief in a journey like that, you can't possibly understand, but there's just so much nuance to it that I never really knew. And that was it was like uncovering a really important and pivotal part of you in a way that I had never seen before.
Yeah. Well, now I feel like your answer was way better than mine.
Well, no. Again, in my type A-ness, like I took some notes on that. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, but it's true. It's like you go through life as a friend to someone, as a best friend to someone. You talk on the phone, you text, whatever. But it's like sometimes these movies and these videos and these songs really like hit a nerve that inspires someone to be really vulnerable and share something from a perspective that you didn't know, even if you are close to this person. And so there have been a lot of pearls of moments like that with you. It's really kind of a gift.
It is interesting how you can like be with someone during an experience, but unless you talk about it, you don't actually know what their experience of it was, right? Like you have your ideas about their experience. And often I think, and probably particularly like at the age that we were, because we were 12, you're so sort of self-focused then that it's really hard to imagine that like someone's maybe having a different experience than like what you imagine your experience would be like in that same situation.
For sure. Okay, well, this leads me to the Ask Us Anything questions. I put out a call on Instagram for you to ask us any old question you wanted, and we got a couple. And so I'm going to ask them here. Kate, what was your favorite fashion trend of the 80s?
Oh, this is painful to admit, but I really liked it when I was a kid. Do you remember when like neon stuff was really popular?
Okay, we were also asked fashion mistakes of the 80s, and I wrote
so
neon.
I can just like kill two birds with one stone. So I remember I had these lime green was my fluorescent color of choice.
Okay.
Followed quickly by fluorescent pink.
Right.
Not together though. But I would wear like and remember how you do like one pair of socks?
Oh, yes.
Like,
so
you
pink,
do, like,
green, and then green, pink.
and then, I would do white and green. And then I had a matching green scrunchie.
Obviously.
I loved it. Like, I remember feeling like so cool when I had that green scrunchie to match my green socks.
That was really popular when we were in junior high. And I remember too, really big earrings. I had these earrings.
Oh, yes.
They were lime green. They were plastic. I got them at the swap meet. They were one of my most prized possessions.
The swap meet. Do you remember when we used to go to the swap meet with your family?
We would go to the Orange County swap meet all the time. So they were plastic and they were giant. And they were dangle earrings. And one of them said yes. And the other one said no.
Oh, I remember those.
I felt like hot as shit in those earrings. And I look back now and I'm like, oh, you poor girl. But I thought I looked amazing. Like you couldn't have told me otherwise.
Right. Like I thought I looked so good.
So good.
In my fluorescent green.
I know. So we were asked about our fashion mistakes of the 80s. And I think that I could speak for both of us when I say spiral perms. We were both big time into the spiral perm and big giant bangs. Yeah. I'm going to share some pictures. I have some really terrible perm pictures to share.
I feel like, it seems like I was too old to have a spiral perm at this point
in high school. I had it in high school.
Yes, because I was going to say.
Oh my God. I'm going to share my sophomore yearbook picture.
It was sophomore year. But I feel like I had a good spiral. Like, I feel like my hair was really long and I had grown out the like bang thing from junior high.
Right.
So I feel like that was like the spiral perm, like that sort of made me like, if I had curly hair, that's how I would have wanted it to be. And of course, like all straight haired girls, like all I ever want in life is curly hair.
Yeah, totally.
And I know that all the curly haired girls are like, shut up.
I rocked a perm for a really long time and my hair would do this thing where
your hair did not hold a perm well.
Okay. My hair would do this thing where the top of my hair would go straight and the bottom underneath, like by my neck, would stay ultra curly. So every morning I'd have to get up and I'd have to use...
You'd like recurl your perm hair.
I would recurl with a curling iron in spirals and it would take me forever. I'm going to share my sophomore yearbook picture. Kate, if you are so inclined, share yours as well. We can put them side by side. So
I mean... I don't know that I have like proper copy, but you're welcome to pull it from the yearbook.
Okay. I might have it actually. Okay. Someone said, are y'all going to talk about 80s heartthrobs? New Kids, Corey Haim, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we both really, really loved us some River Phoenix. I feel like I would really love to touch on some River Phoenix in the future.
Oh, absolutely. River Phoenix. You guys, still my heart.
It still hurts.
It does. Like, he was a good soul. Yeah, we should go back and find like an old Bop magazine.
Oh, I feel like we should cover A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon.
Okay, I feel like that is going to be disturbing to rewatch.
Yeah, which is why we should do it.
We should totally do it because I feel like even when I was watching it as a kid, I was like, I don't think I should be watching this.
That and Dream a Little Dream. We saw that in theater together.
I loved that movie.
Me too. I feel like we should cover it. Did you ever have a crush on the same person?
I don't think so.
I actually don't think so either, which is kind of surprising.
I don't think it's surprising because I like older dudes.
Oh, well, that's true.
I like older dudes and I like the bad boys. Lori's not an older bad boy kind of girl.
I'm really not, you guys. Although I really did love me some Sebastian Bach back in the day, as evidenced by that episode.
See, so you have this like secret side of you.
I really do.
Do I have a secret like preppy boy side? Not that like.
Yeah. Who's your Sebastian Bach? Who's your closet crush?
Maggie Gyllenhaal. My closet crush.
She's awesome, by the way.
Yeah. Right. Is that her? Am I even saying her name right? I hope so.
Yeah, Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, because she's my
awesome.
like secret closet crush.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I'm very straight, but
the heart wants what it wants.
Right. Like I can't explain it, but
lastly, have you ever gotten in a fight with each other?
Actually, we got like
as kids, we used to have petty fights a lot.
Oh, we would have petty fights all the time.
Because we were in a group of 3. That was part of it too. Right. with our other neighbor. So there were 3 of us girls.
Have I said this already? Here's my confession.
Oh, shoot. I'm like scared.
No. I think it reflects poorly on me. So we were a group of 3, which meant at some point it was always 2 against 1.
Always.
But I cannot recall when it was the 2 of you against me.
I was the odd man out often.
Pick one side.
This much I know. Well, what's it like to be so high and mighty, Katie?
I mean, or just clever, right? I was like, I'm not going to be the one on the house. So.
It's a rough place to be. The times I came in the house crying and slamming the door. Oh my God.
Yeah. So we did have, and we should talk about this more when we talk about my so-called life, because I do feel like we had this time in high school where like, I was sort of like Angela and you were sort of like Sharon, right? Or maybe you saw it the other way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like you were just making alternate choices. You were growing up in your own way and I was growing up in my own way and we were just living through kind of different things at that time. We were still friends, but it was a challenging time.
It was. And I remember one of our mutual friends being like, "You're breaking Lori's heart." And I was like, oh.
It was breaking my heart a little bit, Katie.
Yeah. And I think what's
we
really
weren't
funny,
in a fight though. We were going in different directions.
Yeah. And I think I was going through a really hard time in my life. And I don't know, that's just kind of how things worked out.
Well, Kate, as we wrap it up, I just want to let you in on a couple of notable chart positions, not to like pat ourselves on the back, but to pat ourselves on the back. So we reached number 29 on Apple Podcasts in film history in the US, which was really exciting. That happened like a week ago.
If we were really cool, we wouldn't even like talk about how cool
I know.
we are.
Well, no, we're totally going to talk about it because it's very exciting. Number 29 is a big deal. We reached number 1 in the Philippines in the film history category, which was very exciting to me. My husband is from the Philippines. Hello,
Right.
Philippines. When I told him we reached number 1, he's like, yeah, I have a big family. So he took personal credit for that. And it had nothing to do with the fact that we have
amazing.
a fun podcast. Right. And of course, we've talked about it before. We reached number 3 in Ireland in film history. So
Yay.
it's a good time. Again, you guys, we love your ratings and reviews. They make a really big difference.
And that is a wrap on season 1. Thank you so much for joining us this season. It's been a total blast.
We hope this break between seasons makes your heart grow even fonder, but let's totally keep in touch over the socials. We're on Instagram and Facebook at the Untitled GenX podcast. We also really, really, really love your emails. So drop us a line at untitledgenxpodcast@gmail.com. We love you. We miss you already. But most of all, we hope you keep in touch, beautiful people. Bye.
Bye.